In this week's drive, we smash up, fall down, glide, and slide. All this and more in this week's Drive. We start this week with the 6th round of the Formula One Powerboat Championship at Stralsund in Germany. Italian world champion Guido Capellini won his 5th race of the season in a survival test on the 1.7-kilometre, 7-turn course, with just 6 drivers crossing the line at the end of the 60-lap race. The Italian was chased by Francesco Cantando in boat 15 and American Scott Gilman in number 18. But as the waters became choppy, the following pair advanced on the leader, and for 10 laps they raced closely. Then, as Capellini moved over to block an overtaking move by Cantando, the 2 Italians touched and Gilman swept past into the lead. Cantando also passed Capellini and moved up to contest the lead with the US driver. But as the pair disputed the lead, Cantando stopped with a broken flywheel, and minutes after the restart, Gilman's boat broke down too. This allowed Capellini back into the lead, and he was never headed on his way to the checkered flag and his 7th world title. After the round, he has 100 points, more than double the score of Philippe Deserteni of France. Deserteni and Jari Honkola of Sweden came 2nd and 3rd, but Honkola was later disqualified and 3rd place given to Duarte Benavente of Portugal. The next race is in Kuala Lumpur. The street circuit of Vancouver, Canada, hosted an accident-strewn round of the kart series. Incidents in the race may force a rethink on the suitability of street circuits for open-wheeler racing. A collision in the very first corner claimed Jimmy Vasser and Kenny Bragg, but later crashes were to cut the 18-car field to just 7 finishers. Eventual winner Dario Franchitti took the lead briefly mid-race, but was to take the top spot again on lap 86 of the 100-lap race, as other major contenders such as early leader Cristiano De Mata dropped out. A bizarre accident with 9 laps to go forced a red flag when Patrick Carpentier spun in front of several cars, but escaped unscathed. Behind him, Adrian Fernandez hit Alex Tagliani, both hit the wall, and Bruno Junqueira was also taken out. Marshals cut Fernandez from his car, but he was only bruised, although he was taken to hospital for x-rays. After a 20-minute wait, the race was restarted, and Franchitti, who started 3rd, kept Team Cool Green teammate Paul Tracy at bay. Brazilian Tony Kanaan was 3rd, and Carpentier, who triggered the accident that led to the red flag, was able to finish 5th, behind Michel Jourdain of Mexico. The Scottish driver took the lead on lap 85 when Tracy made his final pit stop. Franchitti, whose different pit strategy gave him enough fuel to run to the end, pulled out an 11-second lead. But a yellow flag a few laps later, when Shinji Nakano tore his wing off against the barrier, closed the gap, and Dario went on to win by 1.2 seconds. The victory, Franchitti's 2nd in 4 years at Vancouver, moves him ahead of 2nd place Junqueira in the championship. Junqueira was classified 9th, and pole sitter De Mata, still leading the title chase for the championship, 12th, despite stopping with a broken gearbox 36 laps from the end. To NASCAR's now in the Pennsylvania 500 at the Pocono Raceway, which was to be shortened by 25 laps after race stoppages totaling 3 hours.
Here they go, 3, 4 wide. ride, just like you said, Walt.
Yep, now it's going to get through. You want to be down on the bottom, I think, going through one of the first lap.
The first delay occurred before the first lap was complete, when Rusty Wallace wiped out teammates Steve Park and Dale Earnhardt Jr. Wallace hit the wall and carooned into Park. The contact forced Park to steer low and into the path of his teammate Earnhardt. Both slid on the wet infield grass, with Park going straight to the scene of the accident. Earnhardt ran to his teammate's aid, but in fact Park was okay. But the pair would have some explaining to do back in the team garage. It took track workers more than an hour to replace the infield rail.
There again, there's a credit to the cars on how much protection there is. One car just turned dead sideways.
Well, what a great shot that is. Teammates walking away from a crash like that, arm in arm.
Jeremy Mayfield fought for control for hundreds of yards and looked like he'd saved it until his car kissed the high wall before slamming into the concrete in the infield.
He goes down and bam into that wall. That's a sudden stop.
Yes, it is.
Then with just 30 laps left, Jerry Nadeau had a puncture and that pitched him into the wall too.
This might save Jeff Bird from going a lap down.
Final quarter.
Bill Elliott eventually won the race, which had turned into a 6-hour, 35-minute marathon, halted 25 laps early because of darkness. Pole position holder Elliott had led for a total of 35 laps in the shortened race. He powered his Dodge past Winston Cup points leader Sterling Marlin with 19 laps to go. Marlin, who led for 106 laps, couldn't hold his position on the final restart and was also passed by Kurt Busch, but Marlin increased his series lead to 106 points over Mark Martin. It's the summer break for Formula One and the silly season is in full swing. Firstly, the cash-strapped Arrows Formula One team has been deserted by its top driver, Heinz-Harald Frentzen, thanks to the financial uncertainty at the team. The 35-year-old was fired by the Jordan team in July last year. The team claimed he was not committed enough. And now the boot is on the other foot. Jordan tried to run Frentzen in France after Giancarlo Fisichella was injured, and the Arrows failed to qualify. But the German is also being linked to Sauber as a replacement for Brazilian Felipe Massa in his debut year and making too many avoidable mistakes. Craig Pollock quit as manager of the BAR team and is rumoured to be a likely buyer of Arrows as the team struggles to pay its engine bill race by race. Formula One power broker Bernie Eccleston doesn't want to see another team follow Prost into oblivion. And now it seems Jordan needs Frentzen to replace Takuma Sato, who's gone badly in his debut season. But Heinz-Harald is taking legal action against Jordan over his sacking last year and has had talks with Toyota, rumoured to be looking for a successor to Scott Allan McNish. Naturally, Toyota have denied this. On the other side of the world and at the other end of the grid, Colombian Williams BMW driver Juan Pablo Montoya has ruled out any chance of moving to Ferrari while Michael Schumacher is there.
The reason why I would not go to the Ferrari team right now is because Michael is number one and it is so stated in his contract. Having number one status, he will pull 95% of the team behind him. That way I would start at a disadvantage. If at the beginning of the year he takes a test and I don't have the same test, he would know the car much better and it would be almost impossible to defeat him.
Montoya is second in the World Championship with 40 points, 4 more than his teammate Ralf Schumacher, who's Michael's brother.
In Formula One this year it can be Ferrari, next year it can be Toyota. So to stay in a team for 2 years could mean to guarantee that Ferrari would be the winning team. But one has to have a very clear vision of what it is one wants to do and take a decision based on that. Nothing has been signed for the next few years, but it's almost certain that I will be with Williams, but nothing is confirmed.
Montoya, kart series champion in the US in 1999 and the Indy 500 winner in 2000, referred to the rumours of his transfer to Ferrari as a good joke. But he does want to try out a NASCAR. And NASCAR star Jeff Gordon fancies a drive in a Formula One car, so the two will swap cars in a promotional event at some future time. A local artist also presented Montoya with a new design for his helmet. It's been called the world's most advanced production car, but the styling of BMW's new Executive Express has polarized opinions. Some folk don't like the rear end of the new 7 Series, which is available in most countries in 735i and 745i formats. The numbers are a little misleading. The 735 is really a 3.6-litre V8, while the 745 is actually a 4.4. The new 7 Series introduces technology never before seen on a production vehicle. There are over 75 new features, including head-side airbags and the ISIS Intelligent Safety Information System, which activates safety systems progressively. The controversial iDrive control system contrasts convenience features like illuminated door handles and heated and ventilated seats. The V8 engines are packed with technology to make them smooth, fuel-efficient, powerful, quiet and long-lasting. And they're mated to the world's first 6-speed automatic gearbox. Under the skin, there's an optional all-aluminium dynamic drive active suspension. This gives continuously adjustable electronic damper control with pneumatic suspension and automatic self-leveling of the rear axle. Standard equipment on the 735i includes double-spoke alloy 18-inch wheels, anti-theft remote control, headlight washers, park distance control, rain-sensing wipers, and automatic bi-xenon headlamps. The 745i gets 19-inch alloy wheels, the upgraded suspension, and a glass electric sunroof. The new 7 Series also introduces BMW's new iDrive concept. It's a computer mouse-style knob on the central console, which organizes and simplifies about 700 secondary features. These range from voice activation of major controls to satellite navigation, in-car entertainment, and climate control, all through a single central controller. At home in Germany at least, the new car can even find numbers and addresses as listed in the telephone directory via its onboard satellite navigation system. When asked, it can locate a convenient pharmacy and even find itself a nearby parking space. In certain cases, it even displays a picture of the entrance to the parking garage to make it easier to find. But it's not all plain sailing. The iDrive system is fine if you're driving on the left side of the car and you're right-handed, or vice versa. But if you drive on the right and are right-handed, the iDrive mouse may become annoying to use. With all this technology and massive computing power on board, there's a real risk that the driver could be isolated from the thrill of driving. That's always been at the very core of BMW vehicles, but despite the car's size, weight and luxurious trappings, it still rides, steers and drives like a real BMW. The performance sparkles. The smallest car accelerates from standstill to 100 km an hour in 7.6 seconds, and the 745 does it in 6.5. The cars weigh near enough 2 tons and are over 5 meters long, which makes their performance and responsive handling all the more remarkable. And then there are the long wheelbase versions, topped by the mighty 6-litre V12 760 model, beside the 3.6 and 4.4-litre V8s. The body is 140mm longer to give more space in the rear cabin, and yet the styling doesn't appear to be stretched. The features list is boosted by electric rear sunblind, electric seat adjustment with memories, an 8.8-inch television, cordless car phone, and telecommander. Passenger comfort is enhanced by self-leveling pneumatic rear suspension and rear seat air conditioning, providing individual climate zones. Even the smallest 735 is electronically limited to 250 km an hour, but it's unlikely that this limit will be tested very often. One option that will be popular is the active cruise control that allows the driver to set a following distance behind another vehicle, and the system increases or decreases speed as required to maintain the distance. This creates an intelligent cruise control which can operate on congested freeways and adapt to the changing behavior of other vehicles. Just when you think car makers have included every possible feature, they dream up new ways of making their vehicles safer, more convenient, and more complicated. The Belgian round of the Motocross Championship was the home event for frontrunners Joel Schmetz and Stefan Everts. We ride with Monique Barfoot's in the first corner. Having passed Andrea Bartolini in the opening lap, Schmetz established a clear lead out in front in the heavy conditions, though on occasions he came close to throwing the race away by pushing a little too hard in front of his fans. Behind Schmetz, championship leader Stefan Everts gave the Belgian crowd further reason to celebrate as he recovered from a poor start to storm past Bartolini and then Javier Garcia Vico into second place. Schmetz stayed on to win, but Everts increased his lead in the standings to 34 points with only 3 races remaining. Schmetz is fourth. In the 250 race, we watch from Jamie Dobbs' onboard helmet camera. Mikael Pichon and Kiwi Josh Coppens, first and second in the overall standings, took little time to pull clear out in front of the rest of the field, and Pichon soon had the track to himself. Josh could do little to catch the French rider, but behind a lonely Coppens, all kinds of position changes and crashes were occurring in the muddy conditions. Pichon set a record with his 6th consecutive race win. He's won 8 of the 9 races this year and leads Coppens by 33 points. Belgian Patrick Kaps dominated the 125 race, taking the lead on the first lap and staying in front for the rest of the race. Kaps's victory, only the second of his career, brought tears of joy from his wife and moves him to the top of the title standings. He leads by 2 points from France's Michael Machiot, 7th on the day, with Belgian Steve Ramon a further 3 points back. The Harley-Davidson has long been an icon in the world of motorbikes, an American symbol that has inspired generations of long-haired rebels. But now the bike's mystique is spreading to conservative mainland China, ready to inspire a new posse of easy riders. This year, the Harley brand is 100 years old, and there's probably not a country on earth that doesn't shake to the beat of a Harley's throbbing exhaust. This could be any city or highway in the world, except that there are actually 3 people on this iron horse. While it's forbidden to ride the bikes inside Beijing, bikers can at least get a taste of the open road in the countryside surrounding the city. And the rules don't forbid looking like a California highway patrolman either. The Dream Machine has a small but loyal following in China, with the nation's only Harley club boasting about 300 members. Gang Hui is one of just 2,000 Harley owners in the whole of China.
Harleys are the real thing. Japanese or German-made motorcycles are prized for their quality and comfort. But only a Harley can give you that thrill. And when you're riding your Harley, you feel really free and independent.
Costing a huge 700 to 800,000 yuan, that's between 85 and 100,000 US dollars, and many times the price in the West, the thrill of owning a sleek Harley-Davidson is only for the privileged. Like their American counterparts of the 1960s, modern Chinese Harley riders are still regarded as rebels and treated with suspicion by the authorities. Enthusiasts say the government has a policy of restricting motorcycle ownership for fear of Hell's Angels-style bike gangs. But China's Harley owners say they are not out to cause trouble. Founder of the club and owner of a Harley shop in Beijing, Jin Yi, says he fell in love with the bikes while studying art in the US.
Harley is a unique and natural element of the modern cityscape. It's a very unique and primitive lifestyle. I say primitive because I consider it something like a horse. When you're riding a Harley, it makes you feel like a cowboy on horseback, galloping across a vast plain.
For those whose pockets don't quite stretch to buying a Harley of their own, Jin's shop sells Harley trinkets of all shapes and sizes. 15-year-old Wang Li may never be able to afford a bike of his own, but that doesn't stop him admiring the Harley.
The design of the line is better than other kinds of motorcycles. It's wilder and more alternative. Quite different from normal city motorbikes.
For the elite band of Beijing bikers, nothing compares to the trademark rev and purr of a Harley engine. As China's massive population increasingly finds itself able to get off the nation's trademark bicycle, locally built and imported cars are selling up a storm, and motorbikes are increasingly seen as the poor cousin, no matter what their heritage. While it may be some time, if ever, before China sees legions of big-bore motorcycles tearing up the motorways, these riders are convinced of one thing: when they're out on their Harleys, they're already on the highway to heaven. It's been said that the first vehicle race was probably held about 30 seconds after the wheel was invented, and once the engine had come along, it just made the races faster. When engines went onto lawnmowers, the result was inevitable: lawnmower racing. This German race is run on a tight and brutal course, designed to sort out the serious competitors with tight hairpin corners, chicanes and a steep hill. And if you think the races themselves might have a screw loose, what about the spectators? Who would spend a sunny Sunday watching a gaggle of mowers churn up a field? Perhaps the hill's not so steep, it just looks it from where they are. Some machines have the grunt, others rely on momentum to get over it. Collisions, clumsiness and evasive action taken by earlier competitors reduced the straw safety bales to a straw carpet in some places, which didn't offer much traction or grip. The track changed constantly as rivals stalled and became impromptu chicanes. Transmission failure. If this was Formula One, the safety car would be out and they'd lift the car off the track with a crane. But it's not. So a handful of willing helpers risk life and limb to drag the broken machine off the course. And even though it's not the World Championship on the line, it is now a national event, so the pressure on mechanics to get an ideal setup is intense. Driver organiser Friedhelm Maybaum explains how the race started.
The idea was conceived over a few beers. The first races took place on a club level. By now, it has become very professional. This is the 6th championship.
Okay, so maybe the guys at Williams BMW do things a little differently, but the intensity to find that last drop of speed is still there. The start of another heat on the 300-metre course, and turn 1 claims another few victims. Watch for a daring outbraking manoeuvre up the inside. Hard-won advantages come to nothing as the tight course wrecked transmissions. Some were able to get off the track to retire. The crowd stayed, so they must have been entertained. Wheels tangled with a competitor, it could happen to Michael Schumacher, except he probably wouldn't have to deal with muddy ruts and straw on the track. Having been to the grassroots of the sport, we'll end there. But so you stay on track and up to speed, make sure you catch next week's Drive.